Good day, and welcome to another broadcast of Global Capital Inc. Before I get started, do permit me to introduce myself for those who might be joining me for the first time. My name is Gary Thompson. I'm a business development consultant by profession. I'm a humanitarian by nature, and I'm the self-published best-selling author for several books, including Manager's Toolkit and Billionaire Codes. My new book titled 10x Branding and Marketing, The Psychology of Doing Business is going to be out soon. And of course, I will be talking to you very often from elements in that book that I believe can help you to move your business to another level. Because the book has been written largely to provide you with the kind of information to help you to make informed and educated decisions as to steps that you can take to really build a brand that has local, regional, and international relevance. So the book is there to provide you with that information. But then we have Global Capital Inc. to support you with building your knowledge around different financial platforms. We have the 10x Branding and Marketing LLC, which is registered in the USA. And we also have the 10x Speakers Academy. We have the 10x Blueprint Academy, that will be providing you with critical information about leadership and steps that you can take to better access and leverage the financial market. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the vision behind Global Capital Inc. Our vision is to position our clients, employees, and strategic partners to understand, create, and leverage passive income cash flow, build multiple streams of income, leverage smart investment strategies in order to build generational and intergenerational wealth. Along with this, we will be looking a lot at financial intelligence and the commercial financial sector, financial intelligence and the investment financial sector, financial intelligence, and the credit capital market, and financial intelligence and smart capital market. I must also add that financial intelligence, it goes beyond your ability to make money and maximize your disposable income. It addresses the issue of understanding the global financial system and your ability to leverage this intelligence to create good debt cash flow, minimize your existing debt financial portfolios while you maximize financial and equity capital gain. The understanding of the commercial financial sector, the investment financial sector, smart capital market, and credit capital market, they are an important body of knowledge for you to have in the global landscape of financial intelligence. And this is our commitment at Global Capital Inc. to work with our clients, to work with the average individual who wants to achieve more financially, to really get you to that point where you understand these systems, you can apply these systems, and you get desired results. Now, today I want to talk a little bit about business. And one of the issues that I want to raise about business, and at this particular moment, I'm wearing the cap from 10x Branding and Marketing LLC out of New York City. And what we are seeing is that many small businesses get started. Many businesses get started. And of course, I would normally say that if you're a business startup and you need capital to get your business started, you're not really ready for business. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I want you to get some skin in the game. And if you get enough skin in the game, believe me, you will be able to build out relationships that will start to get you properly aligned to raising capital divorced from the debt capital market. Now, one of the reasons I would say that if you're a business startup and you're going to be dependent on debt capital to move your business forward, you're not ready to start business, again, is because debt capital, depending on which part of the world that you're at, comes at a high interest rate. And the high interest rate can significantly deplete your operational and administrative, it could be totally sucked up in those two areas. And that's the last thing that you want when you are starting a business. You want to know that you have enough cash flow to move it to another level. So these are things that we really work with you to help you to understand. And what I want to say to you from the get-go, in starting a business, it's important for you to understand the importance of team dynamics. You need the right team. It is not just identifying uncle, auntie, cousin, and you put them into a position of leadership in your organization, in your business. You want to be certain that uncle, auntie, cousin, and friend, they have the necessary skill sets to move your business forward. You see, a business is a dynamic institution. And for this dynamic institution to function properly, you need to have the brain power, the energy level to move every department forward. And let me give you an example as to what I mean that, your business is a diverse institution. Your business, it's essential, small or large, you need to have a sales department. You need to have a marketing department. You need to have a public relation department. Now, in the absence of having sales, marketing, public relations, it is likely that your business in itself will struggle to get the kind of visibility that it needs to be able to make the large than life impact on your specific target market. So it's very important as you decide to get into business, as you're now into business, to really recognize what are some of those essential tenets to ensure that you are taking the right steps to truly optimize your business chance to succeed. And one of the first things that you want to be looking at is your team and your team dynamics. You need to ensure that you have a strong sales representative, strong market manager, a strong public relation manager, a strong HR department. The HR department should be the kind of knowledge base to help you to carefully, go through that selection, recruitment, selection, and placement process, and then the climatization process. This is a very critical department. If the HR fail to do the necessary or take the necessary steps to attract the right talent base to the organization itself, it can significantly undermine the potential of that business to scale with local, regional, and international relevance. At a later date, I will go deeper into that. But I just want to emphasize that if you're in business and you want to scale with local relevance, with regional relevance, with international relevance, it's important for you to have the right team. Your right team will help you to understand how to move that entire process forward. So team dynamics, I just cannot emphasize the importance of team dynamics. Now, depending on the size of your business, depending on the vision of the business, there will come a point in the life of your business where you would need more than just the startup capital. In many cases, the startup capital, if you have enough skin in the game, you can get the startup capital by leveraging smart capital market. And I'll tell you all about that as time progresses. You need to understand what is bootstrapping, what is crowdfunding, what is sales funnel, how to leverage your quality contact list. I'll go through all of this with you so you have that clear mental picture as to how to leverage a smart capital market to really get business startup capital. But once you get past this phase of the life of the business, you at this point you might now be ready for debt capital. At this point you might now be ready for equity capital. At this point you might now be ready for credit capital. And again, it is your team dynamics that can really set the stage for you to, one, understand of these portfolios, understand the pre-qualification to access these portfolios, understand smarter ways to up-level these portfolios, and by extension, understand smart ways to mitigate these debt portfolios. And having your finance department, you having a PFA, a professional financial advisor, your personal financial advisor, they are the people that will be able to help you to make these kind of informed and educated decisions about growing, diversifying, and scaling your business and accessing capital. So team dynamics is a very, very important subject matter for you to really take that time out to understand it. As you get that team together, it's important for you to also understand how to keep your team motivated. You want to have the highly motivated workforce, the self-motivated workforce that, you know, they are living and breathing to move your vision, your business idea to another level. And there are ways in which that could be done. As time progresses, we will be talking about a system that we have created that is titled Blanket Workplace Self-Actualization. While we know that it's not possible to reach that point of self-actualization because you have, so much potential to grow and better your best. But this platform really opens your eyes to some new HR systems that you can really apply to ensure that you are speaking to the issues of absenteeism and you're speaking to the issue of staff turnover. And along with speaking to this issue, you are literally functioning like the proactive leader in this regard because you're thinking ahead of the problem. You're thinking ahead. You're seeing beyond the problems and you're taking informed action to ensure that you're minimizing any negative effects that can come from the workforce in itself. So I can't emphasize the importance of understanding team dynamics. The next thing that I want to briefly talk about is what I call your corporate culture. It's important to have a strong corporate culture. And by a corporate culture, what exactly do I mean? Your corporate culture is a representation of every single department within your organization. Your corporate culture should be built out to impact the workforce at every level of the organization. Your corporate culture should be built out to impact the specific target market because it is the specific target market that will really put you in that position to cash flow your business and ideas and your brand. And so you want to build out your corporate culture to speak to these issues. And I'm happy to say again, in the new book that I've written, the new book that we're going to be rolling out, and will really help you to understand, how to make that large than life impact on your specific target market. And I emphasize this: getting into business is not about your emotion to just get into business. Yeah, getting into business is all about your value proposition. Is what value you're going to add to your specific target market. What problems you're going to be fixing. So it's important for you to understand what is your brand intention value trade. And yes, you need to understand what is your brand expectation value trade. These are two important concepts that you need to ensure that you and your team is taking the time to truly understand this entire process. So we spoke earlier on about, your team dynamics, and this other element, your corporate culture, cannot be overemphasized. You want to build out your corporate culture in such a way to truly connect with your target market. impact your target market and set that stage to be able to build a healthy, long-lasting relationship with the specific target market. The next place that you want to have impact is with the general public, because the general public has an opinion too, and there may be strong social leaders out there who may be strong social influencers, and they can make or break your institution. All right, depending on how strong their influence may or may not be. I've seen these things happen in real time. I've seen social leaders in organizations, and trade associations, and chambers of commerce, and politics themselves. They have made a decision that they don't like a particular brand or a particular individual, and they do what they perhaps can best do, and that's to undermine your success. So there are different levels in which public opinion can either have a positive or a negative effect on that business. Now, having said all of that, it doesn't mean that you should fold your hands and give up. There are smart things that you can do to attract influencers to build out relationship, but this will ultimately challenge your communication skills. Later on, I will get into all of those analysis. Some of it is mentioned in my book, but these are things that you need to understand, because the element of competition in doing business is real, and you need to understand it. It is by understanding it and knowing what is likely to come at you is what will enable you to be able to think ahead, to see beyond the problems, and to take informed action to achieve desired results. So 3 things we talk about here so far: how to impact your workforce, how to impact the specific target market. Your corporate culture must be able to influence the general public. Last but not least, your corporate culture must be able to influence the bottom line of the organization. You're in business because you want to cash flow maximize. So if you're not cash flow maximizing from your business, it means that you have a hobby. And that's not why you're in business. While it may be your hobby, you want to cash flow maximize. You are adding value, you're fixing problems, you have a strong value proposition, and you want to cash flow from it. So that's the ultimate objective, some of the ultimate objective behind doing business. Now, I want to talk about another important concept, and that concept that I want to talk about is what we're going to call, taking the time, or let me recap just before I go to the other concept. So far, we talk about team dynamics. We talk about your corporate culture. And now I want to talk about another important concept that is really relevant to moving your business forward. And what I want to talk about is what we call market analytics. Now, very often we are seeing businesses, startup, you're getting into business, and that is an emotional decision too. You see someone making money from business, and you make a decision that that's what you want to do. And that's not necessarily the way you do business, right? Because if that person's in your community, every next business that comes into the same community to provide the same type of service or products, what happens, it affects the cash flowing potential of all stakeholders if, the element of competition is not fully operationalized. So when we talk of understanding the market dynamics, we are talking about understanding the market accommodators and understanding the market enablers. And to do this, it simply means that you have to do the market research. But this is what happened very often as young entrepreneurs. From our interaction with businesses, from the research that we are doing, we continue to see that many young entrepreneurs gets into business and there's no primary market research. This is what we're seeing based on a speculation, based on a belief, an emotional entanglement. You decide to start a business. And that again is not the true foundation in which you start an operation. You want to start an operation and ensure that you have solid information. And the way to get solid information is not by depending on speculation, speculative market analysis. The next thing that we see persons, young entrepreneurs may do, you are dependent on what you call secondary data. Now, secondary data has its yin and yang, it has its good and bad. Secondary data is useful if it is up to date, but in most cases, secondary data can be outdated. And when secondary data is outdated, it is absolutely misleading. And misleading market data can cost you time, can cost you money, can frustrate the heck out of you. That's the last thing that you want. But this happens because you're going about business in the wrong way. One of the things that you want to do, and when we talk about the market dynamics and the market analytics, you want to ensure that you're doing primary market research. But the reality is this: to be able to bring the business to the point where you're doing primary market research, where you have to enable you to have solid market information about your market size, your market density, your market dispersion, the potential of the market, the spending power of the market. I mean, meaning now that you have to understand what are the behavioral determinants of demands and the economic determinants of demand. To get this kind of information is cost intensive. And largely because it is cost and capital intensive, many business startups stray away from this. But I have said, and I will continue to say, the cost for primary market research is justifiable because it is with this kind of intelligence that you can make an accurate and informed projection of the market potential to cash flow. And just let me give you a few examples. Primary market research enables you to understand your market size. Now, what is the importance of understanding your market size? Your market size, first of all, enables you, it says that you know your market. It says that you understand the size of your market. And once you understand the size of the market, you can make an accurate forecast of the potential of the market to cash flow. And it's by understanding the potential of this market to cash flow, you can then make an accurate business decision in terms as it relates to the potential of your business to cash flow, taking all this into consideration. Because in business, you're going to have the element of competition. You're going to have the element of market gaps and market niche. And perhaps if you're in a niche and you can clearly identify the specific needs to reach those niches, and you build out your brand to speak to those market specific needs, it gives you a significant inroad into the market. So having market intelligence, primary market intelligence, is absolutely necessary to move your business and your brand and your ideas to another level of the business development process. So for business startup, for newcomers into business, I want to encourage you to really take that time out to understand this process. Again, this is why we at Global Capital Inc. and the 10X Branding and Marketing LLC and the 10X Blueprint Academy, we are coming together to present to you a number of unique programs that really put you in that position to make informed and educated decision about the life of your business. So far we looked at team dynamics. We have looked at your corporate culture. We look at the market dynamics, market analytics. We said it's important for you to understand your market accommodators and your market enablers and ensure that you're building out relationships with those things. Some other essential things for you to look at is historical data and you want to do your financial projection. Um, and doing the financial projection again, it should not be based on a speculation. It should not be based on outdated secondary data. It must be based on primary market intelligence to inform your decision about your business potential to cash flow. Now, this is absolutely necessary. Whether you're going to the DCM, which is the debt capital market, it's necessary whether you're going to the ECM, the equity capital market. It's important when you're going to the CCM, the credit capital market, because guess what? The inability to do accurate um, market projection, accurate financial projections, and I say accurate because in doing the research will enable you. One of the primary reasons of doing the market research, the primary market research, one, you're identifying the accommodators. Two, you're identifying the enablers. And three, you're taking steps at the said moment to be able to build out healthy, productive relationships with the enablers at the same time. And largely because you're building out healthy, productive relationships with the market enablers, you can come very close to that point to making an accurate financial projection. And again, the team at Global Capital Inc., the team at 10X Branding and Marketing LLC, the team at the 10X Blueprint Academy, we will be working with you to ensure that you have this information. You understand how to apply these techniques to be able to scale your business, your brand with local, regional, and international relevance. So today is just a short broadcast to really speak to business startup, to some who may be in business, who may be struggling. Again, I want to emphasize in getting into business, if you're a business startup and you are dependent on debt capital to move your business forward, depending on the type of business that you have, you're really not ready for business. You need to get some skin in the game. And getting skin in the game is what's going to allow you to raise the seed capital. Once you get past seed capital, all right, you can now start to engage with the DCM, which is the debt capital market. You can now start to engage with the ECM, the equity capital market. You can now start to leverage credit capital, the CCM. Now, again, I want to emphasize this. The reason that I'm saying this, if you go to the debt capital market and you put your equity or your family equity as a collateral and the business is not cash flowing the way it's supposed to cash flow, you put the equity at risk. You put the asset at risk. All right. So you take the asset, your mom, your dad, your relative, and you leverage the asset, might be real estate, to access working capital, but largely because you don't have the right team dynamics. You don't have the right corporate culture. You didn't take the time to understand the market analytics and the market dynamics. You didn't take the time to look at historical realities in relation to the business. You didn't take the time to do an accurate financial projection. The business is not cash flowing the way you expect it to, but then you have monthly collateralized, amortized debt obligation, and you put all of that at risk because you made an emotional decision. There's no space for emotion, that type of emotion in business. All right. So I trust that you would have enjoyed today's broadcast. We talk about a little about access to capital. We talk about some of the essential things that should be looked at when you are getting into business. And just a quick recap, we talk about team dynamics. And I just cannot emphasize the importance of building out the right team. Take your time to do this. If even it takes you a few weeks, a few months to build out the right team, and take the time to build out the right team dynamics. In starting your business, you need your organization chart. But to fill that organization chart is important for you to ensure that you fill in the chart with the right human resources that can truly move the organization forward. Now, this again is where the 10X Blueprint Academy comes into play, because we really work with your team to ensure that your team have the right information, the right training, some of the right training, to really represent the department that they are in. We talk about your corporate culture. You want to build out your corporate culture to have impact at the workforce, at the specific target market, at the general public, and at the cash flowing potential of the organization. We talk about, um, things like your market analytics. Do you know your market accommodators? Do you know your market enablers? And are you building out healthy, productive relationship with the enablers? We talk about historical data. What historical data is important to you and the area of business that you're in that you should know? We talk about financial projection. All of this is necessary for you when you are in business or is considering getting into business. So again, my name is Gary Thompson. I'm a business development consultant by profession. I'm a humanitarian by nature, and I'm the self-published best-selling author for several books, including Billionaire Managers Toolkits and Billionaire Code. My new book titled 10X Branding and Marketing, The Psychology of Doing Business is going to be out soon. So I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. So you will be the first to get these programs that we are bringing out on a regular basis. And do share. I would love for you to help me to send this channel upwards. So all the support I can get from you guys to like, subscribe, and share will be totally appreciated. So be blessed. Remember, we're in a period of COVID-19, and I want you to ensure that you're protecting yourself, protecting your loved ones, and be safe. See you in the next broadcast.